Welcome to the Short Funk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet. Today I'm going to revisit a conversation that I had with listener Dave Barraza. I've met Dave Barraza and his girlfriend Joanna previously. They came and met me in Portland. They were coming through my part of the world and we had an opportunity to get together for lunch. Always nice. If you're a listener to my podcast, I will endeavour to make time wherever possible to have meals and get-togethers with listeners, even a cold drink somewhere. Because it's this experience of meeting and talking with listeners that really inspires me to continue on to do the stuff that I'm doing, continue on to make podcasts, continue on in this relatively curious pursuit, which is putting one's voice out on the internet for others to listen to. I've not wanted to talk too much about the Gorilla of Code and these kind of things, and I was hesitant really to record the podcast this evening associated with Gorilla of Code. However, it is a point that I wanted to make in a variety of different forms, and the Gorilla of Code kind of captures it. For folks listening in, you may have heard recently, I've started not really a contest or a competition, but an ability for a university student to work on Noble Ape over their respective summer, and I will pay them for this privilege. It's based on an idea that there exists a university student that can actually do that, and this is where it gets particularly curious, because I have this vast quantity of experience associated with this one specific thing through Noble Ape. For the first 5 years of developing Noble Ape, I was frequently contacted by university students. Then it was software professionals, and then it was software professionals that were kind of scared associated with working with this Noble Ape source code. And I wonder actually over time if university students have fundamentally changed, and the ability of them to move into source code, perhaps in a language that they're not familiar with, these kind of things, is a point of concern. And in this regard, all the metrics that I would normally track associated with something like the Gorilla of Code are pointing to the fact that it's highly unlikely that a university student will emerge for this particular project. Things can change overnight. I'm going to start exploring YouTube. I'm going to start exploring a wide variety of media forms to try to get this message out. But through this, there is a theme associated with changes that have occurred over long periods of time with regards to young folk. And what I put to Dave Barraza is what we see in our various spheres of interaction, what we see associated with how people learn things and how that has fundamentally changed, means that every generation going forward is going to seem not necessarily familiar or less familiar to us, but there are going to be fundamental changes that remove some of the things that we hold dear. We are like the last generation of something. And that something is going to be relatively important to some of us, but we need to take this emotion and realize that as we are the last of a particular generation to think certain things are important, we can either make that a problem or we can learn to deal with that. And I think in the Gorilla of Code, I'm putting up something where I may have to fundamentally deal with what I have created may not be applicable to future generations. And that is a very curious mind space to go with, because it's not that I'm obsessed with legacy or even really interested in legacy, but I like to think that some of the ideas that I propagated will go on beyond myself. This is a theme through some of these short funks. But in getting a resolution, which could happen sometime in a mid-May time frame, that perhaps what I've been doing for so many years now is something that kind of leaves this planet with me, then it's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, I think personally, it'll just reinvigorate me to work harder on these particular things, but it will also be a kind of bittersweet, a realization that some of the things that I thought were moving into the future with what I was doing are actually firmly, solidly in the past. And I will just have to be comfortable with that if that occurs. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.